Y'all, it's St. Patrick's week, and we're checking out some more Irish-related content. And today we are doing famous Irish foods you need to try before you die.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, that's a big statement. So let's see.
Yeah. The closest I guess what would be on this list, just from not even looking at it, is probably like Irish stew, the Irish spice bag.
Which we have a spice bag that good friend of the channel, Ali, sent. We have some that I have to give to you. Yeah.
Yeah, I will be back up St. Patty's week because I have a gig up in Baltimore at an Irish, like Irish pub, like Americanized Irish pub.
Yeah, yeah.
And I will collect it then.
Oh yes. So I'm here for this.
Hell yeah. Are you ready?
I am ready, man. Let's do it.
3, 2, 1.
Potato pancakes, soda bread, and seafood chowder. There's a lot to Irish food beyond corned beef and cabbage. What other iconic dish?
And that right there. Corned beef and cabbage. That's not Irish. That's American. That has more in common with New York City.
But ask any American what Irish fare is. They will say this. 99%, they will say corned beef and cabbage.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but we're helping to break that stereotype here.
Yep.
Dishes do you need to try? Keep watching for a breakdown of the best Irish cuisine. Let's start with boxty, also known as the potato pancake. It's made by mixing both grated and mashed potatoes with milk, eggs, flour, and butter for a half pancake, half hash brown patty that's fried on the griddle until it's perfectly crispy on the outside and soft on the inside.
Oh, yes. I love potato pancakes. You ever had them?
No. Maybe.
My Nana loves them and Papa loved them, so
oh man,
I had them all the time. And yeah, that's a pretty accurate statement. It's like a pancake and a hash brown got together, got married, had a baby.
Interesting. I mean, I'm there for it. Just that right there, I'm there for it.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
They're good with sour cream and with applesauce.
Ooh. I dig the sour cream. I dig the sour cream idea. Yes.
Don't knock it till you try it. That applesauce.
I won't. You know, but my go-to will definitely be sour cream, 100%.
Yep, I got you.
Boxty is quintessentially Irish because it celebrates the humble spud in all its glory. Potatoes have been a staple in Ireland for centuries and in many ways shaped the entire trajectory of the country. According to Potatoes USA, they arrived in Ireland in the late 1500s when Sir Walter Raleigh planted the country's first spud in County Cork on a 40,000-acre estate given to him by Queen Elizabeth I for his role in suppressing a rebellion. As fate would have it, potatoes were exceptionally well suited to Irish soil, and as their numbers exploded, so did Ireland's population. It skyrocketed from 1.2 million in 1590 to 8.4 million in 1841, and more than half of Irish citizens, primarily the rural poor, came to rely almost exclusively on potatoes for their daily nutrition. Today, boxty is far from peasant food. Entire restaurants and cooking competitions are dedicated to it. And you can find people eating boxty for breakfast with bacon and eggs, or even for dinner or dessert.
That sounds good right there.
If you can have one of those food groups that can be in either category, you've got a good food right there.
Oh yeah. The potato.
Breakfast, lunch, dinner, and or dessert. There for it. You just won.
Yeah. Potato works like in potato bread, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
People eating boxty for breakfast with bacon and eggs, or even for dinner or dessert.
Pancakes! Pancakes!
Potato farls are another tasty dish the Irish devised to use potatoes. The classic recipe calls for just 3 simple ingredients: mashed potatoes, flour, and melted butter. And the resulting dough is thick enough to hold its shape as it's rolled into a thin, flat circle, cut into fourths, and fried for a few minutes on each side. While potato farls might sound similar to boxty, there are a few key differences. Boxty contains grated potatoes, making them more reminiscent of a hash brown, while potato farls use mashed potatoes only for a smoother, more bread-like texture. That makes
Hey, it's here with a full breakfast.
It's like empanada dough almost.
Yeah, empanada or like naan. That's what I'm thinking.
I mean, granted, not at all like associated, but like the look of it is very interesting. Like you have this, that's weird. Mashed potatoes. What did she say? Mashed potatoes, eggs and butter.
Yeah, I think so.
And you just fry that up. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, it's more bread-like, I'd
Yeah.
say.
Okay.
Yeah. That looks good, especially with
Yeah.
breakfast like that.
Hell
With
yeah.
horsepower sauce.
Horsepower sauce. Look at it in the background. Standing proud. Yep.
If you know, you know.
Makes them the perfect stand-in for toast, served for breakfast alongside bacon and eggs to mop up the last bits of yolk. When you eat a whopping 65 spuds a day, you better know how to make killer mashed potatoes. And since the average Irish adult in 1844 did just that, they've certainly answered the call. Rich and buttery Calcanna is an Irish mashed potato recipe made with milk, butter, leeks, and cabbage. It's so ubiquitous throughout the country that you can often find its recipe printed on sacks of potatoes.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
Y'all.
Wow. Okay. Like, we just glanced over the fact that she said 65 spuds back in the day. That's what you guys put down. That's a lot of potatoes.
Yeah,
That's like no joke about potatoes right there.
That's more than one a week.
Holy shit.
More than 1 pound a week, I should say.
Yeah.
If that's what they said. I can't remember.
Wow.
Anyway. But it was pretty much regular mashed potatoes up until the addition of leek and cabbage, which that sounds really good.
That makes sense for some weird reason. It doesn't sound bad at all.
Mm-hmm. And it's good for you because you got your veggies in there.
Yeah, right? There's green in there. I see it.
Yeah. Y'all, put in the comments recipes for all this stuff.
Oh, yes.
Despite contrary to popular belief, I do know how to cook potatoes.
I just don't know how to stab them right.
Thank you. Thank you.
While we'd eat these mashed potatoes any day of the week, they were traditionally served during Samhain, a Celtic festival celebrated on October 31st. If that date sounds familiar, it's because Samhain is the inspiration behind Halloween.
Trick or treat.
Trick or treat.
One of 4 Celtic festivals of the year, Samhain signified the time when the veil between worlds was so thin that spirits and fairies could return to the land of the living. As described by Food and Wine, food played a major role in the festival, and Calcannon was one of several traditional Irish dishes used to dabble in a little fortune-telling. Small charms were hidden throughout the potatoes and said to predict the diner's future. A coin meant wealth was on the way, a ring meant you were soon to be married, and a thimble, well, let's just say you better buy a cat because you're in for life as a spinster.
Oh.
While we're on the topic of Samhain, let's talk about barmbrack. Barmbrack is a sweet Irish fruit loaf traditionally made with raisins. In its early days, barmbrack was made with yeast, but many recipes today will use baking soda for ease. Much like Calcannon, barmbrack used to be reserved for Samhain, and if you were lucky, might have given you a peek into your future. Remember, those little charms hidden in Calcannon? They made an appearance in barmbrack too. Today, barmbrack recipes include all kinds of different fruits, from cherries to candied orange peel and everything in between. However you try it, we highly recommend pairing it with a cup of tea for maximum enjoyment. Soda bread is another.
Okay, so before we get to that, this right here, that sounds really good. Like what it conjures up to me is a mixture of fruitcake, which nobody eats fruitcake unless you actually prepare it. It's more of a joke, at least in the States it is. I don't know what it is the rest of the world, but also New Orleans king cake, which has a Mardi Gras tradition. You have to fish out the little baby inside the plastic baby. I don't know what it signifies, but it's in line with the putting the coin in the mashed potatoes or this bread right here to see what your fortune is.
Now, see, like this in reality, this is something I'd probably stay away from. Again, you know why? Because I'm not a fan of fruitcake, but I'll always give something a try once, except math.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, always give something a try before you knock it. You know, and sweetbread, I mean, I like the I like bagels with blueberries and raisins and the cinnamon in. I can tolerate those, you know.
Tolerate them. I'll eat that shit up.
Yeah. And so I wouldn't mind. But I think I would have to go. I would rather try to do or eat a homemade one before I buy one.
Buy one at the store.
Yeah, does that make sense? Like, I'd rather try a homemade one. That way I get like the real taste, not this assembly line taste.
It probably wouldn't be assembly line because they don't do chemicals and preservatives there. If you get it from an actual Irish nan, then you probably.
Well, that's what I'm
not get
saying.
that.
I'd rather do that instead of at the store if they have it. I wouldn't
Right.
buy it at the store. I'd rather have it homemade. If I were
I'm with
to have a choice.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Highly recommend pairing it with a cup of tea for maximum enjoyment. Soda bread is another iconic Irish bread, one you'll find at breakfast, lunch, and dinner tables across the country on a regular basis. Each family has their own favorite recipe, and they can be savory or sweet, use wheat flour or white flour, contain raisins, currants, or no fruit at all. What makes them all soda bread isn't that they're made with soda pop, because they aren't. Soda bread is called soda bread because it's leavened with baking soda. Irish soda bread came about during the famine that hit Ireland in the 1840s because yeast became exceedingly difficult to get, and soda bread could be made with just a few essential ingredients: flour, baking soda, buttermilk, and salt. It's the reaction of the acid in the buttermilk and the base of the baking soda that makes the bread rise. Irish soda bread is one of those foods that shines on its own, so it's best served simply with some high-quality Irish butter.
Yeah, I've had soda bread before. I do really the more sweet versions of it with like brown sugar type stuff, and yeah, it goes well with a great full Irish breakfast.
Oh, hell yeah. It looks dense.
It is really dense. I'd say it's more. It leans more towards cake than it does bread. Yeah.
Okay. Because that slice right there, just what we're looking at, looks dense as hell.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's some significant breadage right there.
Right. And more often, it's like cakes are more baked with baking soda, and breads are more with yeast.
Okay.
But then again, yeast during the 1840s in Ireland was a bit hard to get.
Okay. Cool. I get it. I get it, man. Hell yeah.
Oh yeah.
Foods that shines on its own, so it's best served simply with some high-quality Irish butter.
And let me say this, is there anything better than butter?
Shepherd's pie is more like a casserole than a pie. Traditional recipes use lamb and vegetables like onions, carrots, and peas, all topped with a layer of, you guessed it, creamy mashed potatoes, acting as the pie's crust. While shepherd's pie actually originated in Scotland, Masterclass notes Ireland was the first to use mashed potatoes rather than a pastry crust. Before that, it would have been more akin to a classic pot pie. Like many of Ireland's most traditional foods, shepherd's pie was born of frugality. It was an easy way to use leftover meat from the week before and any vegetables you happened to have on hand for a warm, comforting meal. Today, many of the shepherd's pie recipes you'll see use ground beef. Technically, this is a cottage pie as opposed to a shepherd's pie. They're essentially the same thing. There's also something called a Cumberland pie that uses chunks of beef instead of ground. Black and white pudding.
Okay, so before that, yeah, I love me a good shepherd's pie.
Yep.
I've had it multiple times. I would say for our Irish kinfolk over here, the closest thing we have to that in the States is like a chicken pot pie.
Yeah.
Which it has like pastry dough on top of it, but it's also chicken and gravy, peas and carrots, things like that. But
yeah,
they're always optional.
I think over here, at least around my house, the barbecue place sells pot pies, but not like with mashed potatoes with the pastry on top, but they're either steak or chicken. I've never had the steak one, but they're phenomenal. That's like it's like a hug, man. Like on a cold day, man. Oh my God, you eat that and you're going to sleep.
I believe it. Yeah, and that barbecue place you're talking about, there's not a bad thing on that menu from what I've had. So I believe you.
Called a Cumberland pie that uses chunks of beef instead of ground. Black and white puddings are a quintessential part of a traditional Irish breakfast, served alongside baked beans, over-easy eggs, bacon, sautéed mushrooms and tomatoes, toast, butter, and lots of tea. Both are sausages made with some combination of a grain like oatmeal or barley, breadcrumbs, spices, and ground pork meat or liver. Some also include animal fat and, especially in Ireland, additional binders like potato flour to help keep them together.
Yeah. I remember when we did the full English breakfast and we had that. Actually, it wasn't
awesome.
too bad.
That was awesome.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
absolutely awesome.
Yeah,
I'm
nice
a
and
massive
salty.
fan.
Yeah, that was really good.
Black pudding is especially unique because it includes the addition of pork or beef blood to give it a stronger color, flavor, and additional nutrients. While recipes vary widely, Taste of History notes that black pudding, or blood sausage, has been eaten around the world for centuries. It was even mentioned in Homer's Odyssey and has recipes dating back to the 4th century. Since most prized meat cuts in Old Ireland were reserved for the rich, black and white puddings gave rural Irishmen something nutritious to do with blood and offal, or organs, so nothing went to waste. They've stood the test of time and remain an iconic Irish food to this day.
Yeah, it's like here in the South, where a lot of soul food, comfort food, was based off of necessity. During the Depression, during the 1800s, a lot of foods like I don't eat a lot of them, like Brunswick stew. I do eat that, but pickled pig's feet,
Yeah.
things like that, are still in a lot of soul food, and some of it is definitely Depression era, but that's another example of making the best of what you got and making it great, and some of it stands the test of time.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. That's just awesome. That is just the most non-wasteful thing out there. Is so and you make it taste delicious. Yeah, you're winning. You're winning.
Oh yeah.
Because that blood sausage, I'll fight for it. That was awesome when we made it.
Yeah. For anybody who's watching, who's on the fence about it, don't knock it till you try it. It's like very salty, and it's like a good what's the right way to put it? If you've ever had like scrapple or even like breakfast sausage, like it's in the same vein as that.
100%. I feel like they lose people abroad when they say blood sausage. That's not appealing. It is what it is. It is what it is. They're not lying, but it's just like, okay, that's kind of crazy. My first introduction to blood sausage was in Colombia. They have something very similar,
Yeah,
and
you
that's
did talk
delicious.
About that.
So
I
was already ready to dive into that.
Yeah, so you already were not too many degrees of separation of Kevin Bacon away from this.
Blood sausage. Yeah. Bacon. Sausage. Yeah. Got it. Yes. Thank you, Spets. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, man.
Traditional Irish stew was made with just a few simple ingredients: mutton, potatoes, onions, and sometimes carrots. Irish stew became a staple for poor Irish families in the early 19th century, when potatoes were a huge part of a traditional Irish diet and economic turmoil created mass poverty. All they needed to create a nourishing, hearty meal was a hanging pot, a fire, and a few staple ingredients they were likely to have on hand. Today, Irish stew is often made with a lamb, a more tender alternative to mutton. Mutton comes from sheep that are more than a year old, whereas lamb comes from sheep that are under a year old. When times were lean, Irish farmers would keep their sheep around for as long as possible to reap the benefits of their wool and milk, so using mutton for their stew made more sense. That said, mutton can be much tougher meat than lamb, so cooking it for a long time, as in a stew, was a must.
Yeah, like that makes sense. Like the mutton is older. It's developed more muscle, more connective tissue, which from all the years of watching Alton Brown, I know that in a liquid cooking method, you cook it a long time, the connective tissue known as collagen dissolves and makes gelatin, which gives stews finger-licking good texture, and if you chill it down, it becomes a solid, and you can make desserts out of it.
Yep. Crazy, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So mutton makes sense for this, but I guess using lamb, the younger one, makes it a little quicker to cook.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting though. But I mean, it's a dish that spawns out of necessity, and it stayed around because it makes sense. Like you don't want to kill your sheep to make a stew, right? Like you use the sheep as much as possible. That's like your last option.
Right. Yeah. Like they said, use the wool, make clothes with that.
Yep.
Use the milk to make,
everything
else. And, when the sheep cannot do its sheeply duty, you need a dish to justify doing away with it.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Can be much tougher meat than lamb, so cooking it for a long time, as in a stew, was a must.
We both love soup.
Dublin caudle is also known as the city man stew because it became popular with Dublin's working class in the late 18th century. During Ireland's first Great Famine, many Irishmen moved from the countryside to the city looking for work. And while they couldn't bring their sheep, they could bring their pigs. So as culinary lecturer Martine Macon-Lomé of the Dublin Institute of Technology told the Dublin Inquirer, Dublin caudle became a, quote, city man's Irish stew that used sausages and rashers instead of mutton and lamb. The key ingredients in a Dublin caudle are pork sausage, British bacon, potatoes, and onions simmered in stock for several hours or even overnight. The stock can be chicken, beef, water, milk, whatever was on hand was what went into the pot. Just as delicious today as it was back then, Dublin caudle is perfect for the end of a long day's work.
You know, I would try that once, but I'd probably go back to Irish stew.
Yeah. That's something. I love everything in that. I love everything in that, and I love what it's about.
Yeah.
But I'm probably gonna be with you on the stew. Going back to the stew thing, but let us, guys, in the comments with all this stuff, let us know where is the best place to get this.
Yeah. Where's best place to get this? Maybe a recipe too. In some of the videos, I mentioned that I might be going to Ireland in June. I'm actually going in December now. So
There you go.
that's when I would be visiting a lot of these places.
And you will definitely want to eat the hot fare over there,
Yeah.
to say the least.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, but I've heard Christmas time in Ireland is very pretty.
Well, there you go, man.
Yeah.
There you go.
Because you can start it in the morning and it's ready by dinner. All this talk of potatoes and mutton might have you thinking that's all Ireland has to offer, but that's far from the truth. Let's not forget it's the Emerald Isle, so it's only fitting that it's known for some pretty delicious seafood dishes too. Irish seafood chowder is the perfect example. Following the tradition of using the foods on hand and in season, Irish seafood chowder can include fish, prawns, lobster, mussels, whatever is caught fresh from the sea. Some recipes call specifically for smoked salmon, which isn't surprising given Ireland is known for some of the best salmon in the world. Seafood chowder is cooked in a base of cream, milk, and wine, with vegetables like leeks, onion, fennel, celery, and yes, potatoes mixed in. Seafood chowder is so popular in Ireland that Kinsale, County Cork hosts an all-Ireland chowder cook-off every year, and thousands come from far and wide to see who takes the crown.
It's great. It's great for Kinsale. It's great for the town. The sun is shining.
I need that.
Yeah.
I need that in my life right now.
100%.
Yeah.
I'm so hungry right now.
Yeah, I love me some clam chowder from, but that's a Massachusetts thing.
Yeah.
But, all those seafood chowders, I need them in my life yesterday.
Yeah, that looks so good, man. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And will be great in cold winter times.
There you go.
Takes the crown.
It's great. It's great for Kinsale. It's great for the town. The sun is shining.
Dexter cattle are native to the Kerry region of southwestern Ireland. They're a sturdy breed in a smaller than average package and have evolved to survive in oftentimes harsh, shelterless mountain landscapes. In fact, they're so hardy, Butcher magazine says they rarely require veterinary attention and can be left to graze the fields all year long, making them really and truly free range. But back to their size. Don't let it fool you. They might be one of the smallest cattle breeds in the world, but their contribution to Irish culture is immense. Not only were they revered by rural farmers for their efficient milk production and ability to thrive even on low-quality land, they also worked as draft animals and continue doing so today. That makes them one of the few tri-purpose cattle breeds still in existence. And if you're wondering what a draft animal is, it's any domesticated animal that can be used to pull heavy loads, an incredibly valuable resource for farm work before the invention of modern machinery. But back to the beef. Dexter beef has a unique spider-like marbling that makes it more tender than other types of beef, and its smaller size means its steaks will be thicker than those cut from a larger animal. If that wasn't enough to convince you that you need to try it, Dexter beef also provides more omega-3 fatty acids because of the time these cows spend grazing the fields. We'll end our...
Oh, man. Have you had Dexter beef before?
Never.
I have. There was... When I lived in Maryland, particularly in Annapolis, there was a series of Irish restaurants. One of them was named Galway Bay that had a Dexter burger, which was made from this Dexter beef. And oh my God,
Yeah.
it was an experience. I'll tell you what.
I bet,
Yeah.
man. Wow.
Anybody who is a beef lover, if you have not ever had Dexter beef, please get it in your life ASAP.
All right, man. I'm sold. I'm sold. You don't have to sell me on food. I will always be there. You know?
I know, man. I'm just saying for everybody here.
Oh, gotcha,
Like,
gotcha.
it rivals also Argentinian beef, which I've had when I went to St. Martin a couple years ago.
Yeah.
It's like, they're very close. Very close. They kick the shit out of American beef. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. Well, that's an easy win. Like, I feel like it's not a that's a layup for everywhere else.
Yeah. It's a punchline of a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fatty acids because of the time these cows spend grazing the fields. We'll end our list with a dish that's a little more modern, but no less iconic, the crisp sandwich, a salty, crunchy creation made with 2 pieces of white bread, Irish butter, and a generous handful of potato chips. A favorite at the end of a long night or when you need a snack in a hurry, crisp sandwiches are lovingly referred to by Irish Central as an Irish delicacy. And while we'd like to say they're easy to replicate at home, there is apparently quite a hot debate going on as to whether a crisp sandwich made without a very specific brand and flavor of potato chips, Tayto cheese and onion, is even a crisp sandwich at all. Meanwhile, in Ireland says using the cheese and onion flavor from Tayto or another Irish brand, King, will make or break your sandwich, and straying from those specific instructions will leave you sorely disappointed. Still, if you're willing to risk a subpar version, you can make your own crisp sandwich at home by picking up your favorite bag of chips and sandwiching them between 2 slices of white bread slathered in butter. Just make sure you use Irish butter, which thankfully isn't nearly as hard to come by here as Tayto's. Check out one of...
Let me run that back for a little bit. Kerrygold.
Yep.
Widely available in the States.
Yep.
Especially, even in Walmart, it's available.
Yep.
And it's a far superior butter to Land O'Lakes or something like that.
That's the one we buy all the time.
You know about that. Probably gonna piss off all our Irish viewers here by saying, is it acceptable to use Walkers in one of those crisp sandwiches? Because that's the only cheese and onion flavor I've had when you've had it too.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just do this for a second. But I probably pissed all y'all off by saying that, and probably when I go over in December, I'll have to get a bag of Tayto cheese and onion,
like a big one.
Try it,
like
a big old one.
And you got to bring shit back too.
You got to bring stuff back to you.
Listen, and here's the other thing: do we get a pass by not being able to have those accessible and using our own? We don't have that flavor, but hey, desperate times. What if I want to try it?
Right. I mean, I've heard of putting chips on, or crisps, as y'all call them, on sandwiches, but like a full sandwich from like Subway or Jimmy John's or something like that.
Yeah.
Not just on its own. In fact, I remember that when I checked out the butter. And I remember that from when I checked out the dating an Irish woman video. When I got drunk one night and I was like, hey, how do I pick up chicks in over that part of the world?
Oh, man. But let us know, because remember, we have the other side of Walkers. We have Lay's. So we do have that in abundance. So if there is a comparable, I guess, option for us over here, or does it have to be Tayto?
I think I know what their answer is going to be, but we'll entertain it because we've already asked for that and recipes and restaurants and pubs and stuff like that.
This is going to be a great comment section.
Cannot wait to read
Don't
those.
read the comment section hungry.
Yeah. Anyway, y'all, thanks for watching. Consider subscribing and watching another video. And what else, Dan?
Unplug and go eat yourself a sandwich.
Exactly. Sláinte, y'all.
Later, guys.
Fellas, we can be that mistake. Let's do this.